Michael Chandler lost once again in the UFC, and this time, the bitter taste of defeat seems to have come with even more weight. He's now dropped 5 of his last 7 fights inside the octagon, and what was once seen as an exciting fighter, known for delivering explosive matchups, is now beginning to be viewed as someone who might be approaching the end of the road. Many are starting to question, should Chandler retire? Does he still have the motivation to compete at a high level? Or has he already given everything he had to give? These questions grew even louder after what we saw in his last fight. And it wasn't just the result that caught attention. It was the way he lost. His body language during the fight, the lack of reaction, the absence of that fire that used to be Chandler's trademark. Check out what some fighters had to say about the American, being brutally honest about whether or not he should call it quits. First, let's take a look at what Kamaru Usman said about Chandler, adding that the American doesn't seem to have that hunger that a fighter who still wants to win usually has. He admitted that Chandler is unrecognizable compared to the champion he used to be.
And it wasn't that Chandler wasn't wanting to fight. Chandler wanted to fight, but he was just like, sometimes, like when you're in the fight and you get kicked or you get punched or whatever, each time you get hit, you make a conscious decision in your head, like, was that shot bad enough to discourage me from coming forward and accomplish the task at hand, what I want? Every time he came forward, Patty threw something, Chandler would get discouraged and just kind of back up and stop. And it frustrated me because I know how much power this man has, and I know how good he is. I never want to tell a man what to do or when to retire, because you know how much fire is burning inside you. And so I would never say that to another man, like, you need to retire. But I do think, yes, that's a decision. That's something he needs to think about. If he's halfway there, it's something you need to seriously consider because of the damage that he is taking. And yes, he's one of the most exciting fighters in that division, and definitely top 10 in the company. So yes, I get that part. Yeah, I think he, just like Dustin says, hey, I want one more and then I'm done. So I think, yeah, consider it. I'm not telling you what to do, but I think consider it.
Former fighter Josh Thompson was extremely blunt, even harsh in his words, making a point of highlighting what many technical analysts also noticed. Chandler's attitude inside the octagon was not that of someone who still wants to win. According to Thompson, the Michael Chandler we all knew wasn't there. What he saw was a fighter who had already checked out. The reality is, he's done. He is washed. He's literally made so much money. He's got one foot out the door. It's not in him anymore. There's no drive. Did you see the way he was in the corner with Henry Hooft? Henry's talking to him. He had no reaction. There was nothing there. The Michael Chandler that we knew, that was very comfortable with constantly fighting hands, constantly trying to spin inside the body lock. All of those things we had seen multiple times against world-class fighters of him doing that. And in this situation, literally settling on the bottom, literally just being comfortable, just hanging out on his hands and knees, just with no wrist control, just kind of hanging there and letting himself get hit. Those are the things that when I'm watching as a fighter, he's checked out. There's no push. You can train as hard as you want. You can look as ripped and shredded as you want. Ripped does not help your mental when you're inside that cage. Henry Cejudo also shared his opinion and was honest in saying that Michael Chandler should take one last fight and then retire, just like Cejudo himself plans to do, because Chandler has just been getting beat up in his fights, and it's unlikely that he'll manage to turn his career around.
I think Chandler should have just one more fight, man. Like, I really do, man. I think we should retire together, bro. Maybe on the same card. If I'm Michael Chandler, yeah, I'd retire, bro. That's too many beatings, dude. It's not even taking L's, but that's like elbow to the face. He's always cut. He's always bloody. He's gonna be beloved by the people, but he's lost all of his fights, man. And people just forget. People forget. I think at this point he's in my position. Whatever the UFC wants, whatever the UFC is gonna get him, they might give him a young up and coming contender. And that's when you'll know what the UFC's the fact that they're a cash machine. They want to make that money, so they gotta push people to get in there to be able to promote. So as at this point, man, I think for Chandler, he's on the UFC's call, dude. That's all.
Another fighter who commented on the fight was Dustin Poirier, who not only fought Chandler before, but also knows the behind the scenes of high-level competition and recognizes the signs of an athlete's decline. Poirier admitted Chandler had a solid first round, even secured a takedown, controlled the wrists, and showed flashes of the old Chandler. But in the second round, everything changed. He looked gassed, unresponsive, and got steamrolled. I think this whole week what we've been talking about, his back was against the wall, the thing Anthony Smith didn't like. The Crossroads reference, I think that's what that was. We saw him lose again tonight, and not just lose, but get rolled by a young guy. That was a beating. After the first round, he had some success with the takedown, with the wrist ride, just riding him out in that first round. He won that first round, and just didn't look like himself in the second. Didn't look sturdy on his feet. Looked like he was slowing down, which we don't see him ever slow down in the second round. He's in phenomenal shape, looks great, but these years catch up to you. After breaking down Chandler's performance, Poirier also took a moment to comment on Paddy Pimblett, who's now starting to change the minds of many people who previously saw him as nothing more than an internet character. Poirier admitted that at first he didn't take Paddy seriously, but now, with consistent wins, composed performances, and an increasingly mature style inside the octagon, he believes the Brit is a rising star. I thought he was a goofy-looking guy with a silly haircut that people were kind of getting behind like a fad. Like, oh, this is fun, let's cheer this goofy-looking guy on. But when you have a perfect storm like this, where you are the goofy guy and you say these things, and then you go out there and win fights, you become a massive star in the sport. That's what he's doing. He went from a prospect to a contender tonight. He's a lightweight contender now. He's in the top. Who doesn't have a fight right now? Gaethje? Maybe Arman? Oliveira? All fun fights. All great fights. You don't fight back now. You continue to fight up and go for the title. I think you give him one of those guys. Michael Bisping also weighed in on Paddy's moment, and Bisping went even further. He suggested who Pimblett's next opponent should be, and it's no small name. He believes that a fight between Paddy Pimblett and Charles Oliveira would be the ideal matchup. A clash between two elite finishers, two popular names, two aggressive styles. A real war. We know he called everyone out on the microphone afterwards. I love it. I love that he called out all of the top guys. He ain't gonna get a title shot against Islam Makhachev. I think that's gonna go to Ilia Topuria. He made a special emphasis on fighting Charles Oliveira. I think that's the fight that's gotta get made. Paddy Pimblett's jiu-jitsu is fantastic. Charles Oliveira is the submission king. He's got the most bonuses. He's got the most finishes. He's a former champion and doesn't have a fight booked right now. This should be it. Who knew we'd be having this conversation? Paddy Pimblett versus Charles Oliveira, a #1 contender fight? That'd be incredible. At the end of the day, what we witnessed in this event was a major shift. Chandler, one of the most exciting names to arrive in the UFC in recent years, may be saying goodbye to the top, or maybe to the sport altogether. And at the same time, we may have seen the birth of a new contender. Paddy Pimblett still has a lot to prove, but it looks like he's on the right track to stop being seen as just a character and become the real deal. Now, I want to know what you think. Should Michael Chandler really retire, or does he still have some fight left in him? And Paddy Pimblett, is it already time for him to face a name like Charles Oliveira, or is it still too soon? Drop your opinion in the comments so we can talk about it. If you truly love MMA and want to stay up to date with everything going on in the fight world, you definitely need to check out the 2 videos popping up on the screen right now. These are super important, and I'm sure you'll enjoy them and stay well informed about the latest MMA news. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like to help with the algorithm. See you next time.